Hello, Kidney Warriors. James here from Dadvice TV, your online kidney health coach. And this is Dadvice TV Live. And I'm so excited to have everyone here. Now, if you are new, go ahead, introduce yourself in the comments and say new, like Joni right here. Hey there, Joni. Glad to have you here with us. We have a great community that is so helpful and so supportive. So get to know each other so we can all learn from others' experiences and get tips and advice from each other. Now, for those of you that are new, oh, hey, hello, Ohio here. I see you got us a Go Bucks icon. Awesome. Cincinnati here, but I am a Buckeye in the heart. Awesome. For those of you that are new, let me quickly introduce myself. My name is James. I am not a doctor. I'm just a regular person, just like you, who happens to not be too shy to talk a whole bunch on the internet. I love talking. But I was diagnosed just a little over 2 years ago with stage 5 kidney failure. I spent a week in the ICU, and that's where I discovered that I had kidney issues. I had no clue. And the doctors, they got my kidney health up. They worked with me, had IVs in my arm. I spent a week in the ICU, got my GFR all the way up to 13. Yeah, I know, that's not too high. And they told me, James, this is as good as it's going to get. You're not going to get any better. As a matter of fact, you need to go on dialysis, and we're going to get you on a list for a transplant. Well, that was almost 2 years ago. I never went on dialysis. I never got a transplant. Instead, my family doctor told me, James, I can help you. You can get better. Come work with me. Let's try it. I worked with him. I worked with other doctors. I worked with the super secret, most important person in my healthcare, a renal dietitian. And what happened was I started getting healthier. I started to remove some of the burden I was placing on my kidneys, and I got better. My labs look so good. My last lab, stage 3, GFR 33. Now, that was a while ago. I feel even better since then. Now, I did not cure my kidneys. My kidneys are just the same. They're still shriveled. They're still scarred. None of that went away. But I used diet and lifestyle changes to reduce the burden I was placing on my kidneys. So my kidneys and I, we kind of have an understanding of each other, and we get along so well now. Now, with us tonight is someone who is going to help us make it through kidney disease and kick it to the curb and improve our quality of life. I'm talking about our favorite renal dietitian, Jen Hernandez. Hey, Jen, how you doing?
Hey James, I am doing all right, hanging in there, still in our temporary space. So we talked about the internet not being the greatest, so fingers crossed. I mean, we said this before to you, all of you guys, when we do these lives, you know it's live when there's a tech issue that happens. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah. Now, for those that are new, tell them about what a renal dietitian is and how they can reach out to connect with you after the show if they want to, join your Facebook group and stuff.
Yeah, so I am a registered dietitian in the US. I have gone through my undergrad. I took my internship, the exam to become a registered dietitian, and then after working several years as a registered dietitian, specifically with people in dialysis and with CKD, I took another exam to become a board certified renal dietitian. And that is what I do now. I help people in my private practice online for people in the US, helping them learn about their kidney health and kidney nutrition. I also have the PlantPowered Kidneys, which is my online course, and I do have a free Facebook group for plant-powered kidney warriors that you can find in Facebook. And it is a wonderful group of people who are very supportive and very interested in making healthy changes for their kidney health. That's mostly focused on a plant-based lifestyle. So if you're looking for a group of peer support, people who are in similar, but not the same, but in similar situations as you, that could be a great place for you to go so that you can connect with more like-minded kidney warriors.
And best of all, guys, it costs you nothing to go over to Facebook, do a search for Plant Powered Kidneys, and join Jen's group. I'm in there, a whole bunch of regulars from Dadvice TV are in there. Jen does live videos when she can, showing you how to cook stuff, answering questions, providing all sorts of tips. Other people are sharing their recipes and pictures of their meals that they made up, which is one of the hardest things for kidney warriors. What am I going to eat tonight? Or I've gotten kind of bored of eating the same thing. Psh, going over to plant-based kidneys, lots of great stuff there. Now, tonight, we are here to talk about something that, believe it or not, is kind of foreign to me. We're going to talk about alcohol and kidney disease. And when I say it's foreign to me, when I was little or younger, I hate saying that I was little. When I was younger, I like to think it was just a few years ago, but it was decades ago. I drank too much, and I gave up drinking from then on because I was just like, oh no, 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 no. I looked like an idiot. I acted like an idiot. College kid. Oh, it was not good, or not the me I wanted to. So I actually rarely ever drink, even before my kidney issues. At the most, I might have a beer in a year, and it's probably been 4 or 5 years since I've had a beer. So this is definitely an area where I have no experience. But a lot of people message me and say, hey, James, can we drink alcohol? Is alcohol safe? So that's what we're going to talk about today. So why don't we start with the beginning, Jen? What are the types of alcohol? Because I'm guessing they vary. Because I know some are less potent and some are more potent. So what are the main types and how do they kind of stack up to each other?
So there are four types of alcohol that we think of in these different categories. And the reason we want to talk about the different types and categories is exactly what you said, James, that the serving size is different, the potency is different. So this is the way of kind of putting them on basically an equal playing field. And when we talk about something like one serving, two servings, that it's going to give you an idea of what that means. So that being said, we have, of course, beer, and that is going to be looked at as 12 fluid ounces or of a 5% beer. So beers can come in all different percentages of ABV, which is alcohol by volume. So the percent that's actually alcohol. In this case, we're looking at a 5% beer is the standard, and it's 12 ounces. There's also malt liquor, which are some of your other types of like beer alternatives, if you want to think of it that way, some of the other canned or bottled beverages that aren't beer. And those we're looking at 8 ounces and it's about 7%. So if you think of it this way, it's a smaller portion, but a higher alcohol percentage. So that's where we're kind of leveling this playing field. Another one is wine. Wine is 5 ounces, and we're talking about a 12% alcohol volume. And then finally, there's liquor. So your tequilas and vodkas, everything like that, is considered to be 1.5 ounces, and that is 80 proof. So that would be 40% of alcohol by volume.
Very potent. That's the stuff I never was able to handle. And it's kind of funny that percent of alcohol by volume is kind of important to think of.
Mhm.
When I was young, back when I did drink in college, here in Ohio, we would go up to Canada because the beer had a higher alcohol content per can. So it's good to
Mhm.
keep that in mind, guys, if you're
Yeah.
getting some of the beer from other countries that may have a larger or higher alcohol content.
Yeah. Or if you
So,
order a drink and you make it a double,
oh
you're
yeah,
making it 2 drinks worth. So it's not one drink you're having. You're actually doubling your drink.
yep. And talking about that, or speaking of that, how much alcohol is okay, and when does it become too much?
So there are dietary guidelines that the US has come out, and they have included alcohol in those guidelines. And this is something where it really goes into the whole idea of like moderation. And we want to look at how much is okay and when do we say it's too much. So according to the US dietary guidelines, per day, men can have up to 2 drinks or the drink equivalents that we talked about. Women can have 1 drink. And for the majority, the reason they have these differences is usually body size and composition, which I don't want to get too much into, but the way we metabolize because of our fat percentages in our body can also have an effect on that too. And women have a higher fat percentage because we need to carry tiny humans in our bodies for a number of months. So our bodies have a higher fat content. So in general, men is 2 drinks a day, women 1 drink a day. Now, when we talk about how much is too much, we're looking at essentially anything over that amount. So there is this concept known as binge drinking, which a lot of people kind of use the term loosely or think it won't apply to them. But technically, binge drinking is drinking anywhere over 4 drinks in a 2-hour window. So that is drinking pretty fast, and it's basically to the point where you're drinking more than what your body can metabolize, and your blood alcohol volume would be higher, like above driving range, which is what, 0.08. So it would be basically saying that you're above that. You're let's see, inebriated.
Yeah, there we go. And for those of you that notice, geez, your audio just changed. I realized I didn't have my mic turned on. It was using my earpods. So everyone got to hear me clear my throat, which I do quite a bit during one of these calls. Because my mute button doesn't mute these ones. So you mentioned one key factor in there. You said per day. Can I save up and say, hey, I'm going to do a lot this weekend?
You know what? No, that is not the way it works. It is, I know a lot of people wish that was it. And I think a lot of people do use that mindset, but that is not the way our bodies work. And our filtering systems, including our kidneys, are not sitting there saying, oh, great, I'm going to rest now and then use all this energy later for this huge amount of toxins, which the body does see alcohol as a toxin. So it doesn't work that way. Our organs are continuously working all the time. So it's not something that we can just hold off, save up for, and then just kind of go down the rabbit hole with, basically.
Yeah, very good. See, that's what got me in trouble when I was younger. I said it again, younger. I don't want to be old. That's the one thing. There's 2 things I don't like. I don't like weight. I don't like my age. Weight I can change. My age I can't.
Hey, but age is nothing but a number, right? We all act as young or as old as we. Yeah, and I'm telling you, this is the day that I told you about my back issues. So like, I am mentally probably way up there in age today.
So, what are the risks with drinking alcohol? Because I know, some people, the doctors say, hey, avoid alcohol. And I've never actually asked why. I've just always been the kind that's like, yeah, I don't drink it anyway. I'm good.
Yeah. And I mean, it makes sense too, because we hear a lot about the risks of alcohol, and you think about, besides like the societal risks of your lowered inhibitions, so you get into trouble, you may say things that you didn't mean to say or shouldn't have said, a lot of those other things we're talking about with what the doctor is saying, or why the doctor is saying to be careful with alcohol. For one, alcohol does raise blood pressure. And you guys know blood pressure is one of the number one things related to kidney disease. And it's almost like sometimes it's a chicken or the egg thing, which came first. Either the blood pressure caused kidney damage, or the kidney damage caused high blood pressure. So because they're so intertwined, putting alcohol into that mix is something that you just want to really be aware of. If you have blood pressure issues, drinking alcohol is really going to.
Yeah, so that's a good thing to think of, especially those of us that are stage 3. If you're stage 4 or stage 5, you probably have a lot more trouble managing your blood pressure. And this is it's a spiral we don't want to get into. As our blood pressure gets out of control, unmanaged, it can cause more damage to our kidneys, which are what control blood pressure. So now they're controlling it even worse, more damage. We don't want to go there. So those of you like me who are watching your blood pressure, maybe that's a reason to stay on the low end or avoid drinking some alcohol. I've heard, and one of the things that I think is really important, or the number one thing my doctor focused on when I got diagnosed, was inflammation. We had to get rid of inflammation as much as possible, which helped him kind of tell what condition really were my kidneys in. Besides just looking at creatinine, we were looking at protein leakage, and inflammation amplifies that. And I've heard that alcohol plays a role in inflammation. Is that true?
Yeah, there is some connection with alcohol and inflammation. So it can, because it's seen as a toxin from the body, it is something that automatically, when you consume alcohol, your body kind of puts the brakes on other things, especially metabolizing other things that are going on. And it wants to take care of this alcohol as soon as it can. There's only so much it can do per hour, which is where those dietary guidelines come into play. But it's going to be working to take care of that. And really, this is essentially related to chronic alcohol consumption. It's not like if you have a drink, all of a sudden your inflammation is through the roof. This is something over time. If you are drinking constantly, having large amounts of alcohol, that can be what leads to that higher inflammation. And in particular, there have been some studies that have looked at how inflammation can weaken the gut and can weaken that barrier, which is, your gut is basically that filter getting into the bloodstream. And if that filter is weakened, then you're letting more things in through the gut, things are slipping through, and that can lead to further inflammation because it's more stuff that the kidneys, that the body has to process and really work through.
Yeah. And then another, so blood pressure is a huge thing for kidney patients. The number one cause of new cases of kidney disease. Number one's diabetes, which means watching blood sugar. And I know a lot of drinks could be loaded with sugar. And I don't know, how does alcohol itself do with blood sugar?
Well, for one, drinking alcohol, especially if you have blood sugar issues, it can actually lower your blood sugars. So the liver is what's responsible for our insulin and for glucose management. And it also is responsible for metabolizing alcohol. So again, putting these roles, putting these tasks into the body, into the liver to take care of these things, it's going to focus on the alcohol. There is a term called alcohol-induced hypoglycemia, which is low blood sugars. And this is basically when the blood sugars drop below the normal range. But this can happen within minutes of drinking alcohol to hours after drinking alcohol. I was reading up on it, and there are people who would experience overnight as they were sleeping because of the alcohol they had earlier. So if you have issues with your blood sugar control, I would definitely recommend paying attention to some of the other things we've talked about in our other chat that we did, all about the renal diabetic diet and what to pay attention to. And one of those things would be not going too long without eating. So in this case, don't drink on an empty stomach. That would further induce lower blood sugars. So that would be one example. But there is such a thing as alcohol-induced hypoglycemia, which, if you have blood sugar issues, definitely something you want to be aware of.
Yeah, for anyone out there who is not diabetic or doesn't have someone in their family who is diabetic, you kind of might think, hey, it's great to lower your blood sugar, but it's not good to lower it too low. It's just like all of our nutrients. We can't go too low on sodium and other nutrients. That's just as bad as getting too much. So for those that do have challenges managing their blood sugar, that's a huge risk right there to me. Now, we had someone mention it, and it's a lot of comments on here. What about any connection with cancer when you're drinking alcohol?
So there are connections with alcohol and certain types of cancers that you should be aware of. Kidney cancer is not one that I've seen. But we have the mouth and throat cancer, larynx cancer. So think about, basically the beginning of your digestive system, that there's a higher risk of cancer, esophageal cancer, of course, liver cancer, where it's being metabolized. And then there have been studies that have shown that women have a higher risk of developing breast cancer, not men, based on alcohol intake. And again, a lot of these risks and research that we talk about, these risks are related to higher chronic levels of drinking. So again, that's why in the very beginning we talked about how much is okay, what's the recommended amount, and these are the risks of going overboard frequently, or we'll talk about other reasons, but I do want to emphasize that too. It's not like one drink will cause all of these problems.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just not drinking, exceeding what would be normal, or drinking in moderation. We'll get to that. Is probably where people need to be if they want to drink. Now, I'm looking for a bottle of medication. I don't have any in here. They're all in the kitchen in my cabinet. A lot of our medication has warnings on it about don't drink alcohol, don't operate heavy machinery, no driving forklifts, stuff like that. So with kidney patients, I'm assuming that medication interaction is another thing we need to be aware of, because most of us are taking some, or, I practically eat breakfast in the morning out of pill bottles with all of my blood pressure medications. What can you talk to or tell us about that?
Yeah, this is one of like the number one things I would say. This is why you need to talk to your doctor about any alcohol, even if it's something that you're thinking, oh, it's no big deal. I have a glass of wine at dinner, which, by the way, some of my clients do have wine with dinner, and it's totally fine. But, it's always something that you want to clear with the doctor, because your doctor is going to have that kind of sensor on to say, oh my gosh, no, like you can't do that because of X, Y, and Z medications, or whatever the case is. Or maybe say like, okay, if you want to have a glass of wine with dinner, or if you want to have a beer at dinner, then maybe we should take this medication at this time instead. And they can help provide an alternative for you, because we've talked about this before. The last thing you want to do is be taking medication for essentially no reason, or to change the effect of it, to make it too potent, or to make it just basically not do what you want it to do. And there's a huge list of medications. I mean, I don't want to sit and go through all of them too much, but there's a lot of medications that are impacted by alcohol, which, again, if we're thinking about what's going on, the liver and the kidneys are helping to clear a lot of things out of our system. Okay. So they're already doing all of that, and the liver is metabolizing alcohol. So if it's metabolizing medicines and foods and now alcohol on top of it, it makes sense that there's going to be an effect there. Could change the way your medications metabolized.
Yeah, and I looked up earlier a list of medications that are impacted by alcohol. Some diabetic medicines, medicines for depression, and that's another common thing with many kidney patients. Depression is something we have to deal with, and sometimes your doctor may work with you and give you some medication. Those are impacted. Antihistamines, which when allergy season kicks up, I'm taking those, and those alone can almost knock me out, make me kind of drowsy and lethargic. And I can only imagine alcohol probably amplifies that, which could interrupt with me doing my job and stuff like that. So it's definitely a good idea to keep an eye out on that. And I know I take melatonin from time to time, especially when I travel, which isn't very often now with COVID. But when I travel to a new time zone, I'll take 5 milligrams of that to help me sleep. And I know that says do not take with alcohol. And I'm assuming because it just amplifies its effect for us.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, here's a question that is always on my mind, and it's probably on everyone out there's mind, but you guys aren't thinking about it. What does alcohol do to our labs, our blueprint? We don't want to skew our labs anyway. We want an honest picture of how we're doing so we can adjust our diet and make other changes. Does alcohol impact our labs?
Yeah, this is something I was looking into and really just kind of learned about this recently. I mean, a lot of us are told when we get our labs drawn, either to be fasting or that it doesn't matter, non-fasting. But with alcohol, if you have alcohol within, let's say, the 24 hours prior to your draw, it can actually impact your lipid panel, which is your cholesterol levels. And with people with CKD, Cholesterol is something that gets checked very often because one of the most common medications that's prescribed are a statin, some kind of statin that they're put on to help prevent further complications with CKD. And often I'm telling my clients, we got to make sure we check your cholesterol levels. If we're looking to take them off medication, that's something that I want to use as evidence of you've been eating better, your labs are looking better. Do we really need to include the statin? Is that really something that's necessary? Alcohol prior to your lab draw, then you could be getting inaccurate results, and there's really not much you can do. Again, we've talked about the labs before, and the last thing you want is to not have a valid blood test result. You want to look at those numbers and feel really confident knowing what you have there.
Yep. And those are so important to us. So what about the benefits of alcohol? Are there any?
Yes, there are definitely some benefits. And I was looking into the ones that are specifically related to kidney health and kidney nutrition. We talked about the blood pressure being a con or being something that would be a risk. There are some cardiovascular benefits that come from drinking low to moderate amounts of alcohol, particularly wine having cardiovascular benefits to giving better increased blood flow as well. Related to kidneys specifically, there is some evidence that suggests that wine in particular can help with lowering the risk of kidney stones. So there have been studies. Yeah. Yeah. So there have been studies that have pointed out specifically to wine. Some have also shown beer to be helpful as well. And when we look at the process of it, alcohol in itself is dehydrating, right? So you drink alcohol, you have a drink, and what is it? Breaking the seal. Have you heard the term break the seal?
I have not, but I'm in the wrong scene.
So this is something that I feel like I've heard out and about. I don't know. I don't know if I'm dating myself or not dating myself, but breaking the seal, basically you have a drink and you go to the bathroom, and then it's like you can't stop going to the bathroom once you've done that. So alcohol will promote urination. It will make you go to the bathroom. But the trick there is, and that's why you hear a lot of people say you want to hydrate while you're drinking, switch out with water when you have a alcoholic beverage, because you want to replenish those fluids. So with kidney stones, we know that more frequent urination is good, but you have to make sure you're drinking enough liquid, you're drinking enough water to replace the fluids that the alcohol is getting rid of. So it's important, and I really can't say this enough. It's important that if you have some modest, moderate, low amounts of alcohol, really make sure that you're hydrating with water. You're not replacing with alcohol, but it's just kind of something in addition to the water that you need to drink anyway.
Yeah, and we all know being dehydrated is not good for all of us kidney patients, and that also is going to skew your labs. So another reason definitely not to be drinking when you get too close to your labs, that way you get accurate numbers that you can then use as a guide. Any other benefits for drinking alcohol? It's great. Reduced risk of kidney stones. That is awesome. Because it's been a long time since I've had them. I don't ever want them again.
Yeah. Well, there is another interesting study that came out in 2015. It talked about the lower risk of developing CKD. So this is not for somebody who already has a diagnosis of kidney disease, but we know that one of the factors of developing CKD can be hereditary, can be genetic. And that's why they say you're at a higher risk if your parent or your grandparent or your aunt or uncle, if somebody has CKD in your family, you have CKD. So this study did show that alcohol lowered the risk of people developing kidney disease, which I thought was really, really interesting to think that moderate alcohol consumption, so again, 2 drinks per day max for men, 1 drink per day max for women, could be helpful in preventing kidney disease.
Wow. That is very, very interesting. And I wonder if it's partially increased blood flow, the increased, urination, preventing kidney stones and other things, if all that's kind of adding up and helping to prevent it. So those are some good benefits. And the downside or the negatives that we talked about sound like they could easily be managed by not consuming too much and just making sure, not consuming it while you have medication and stuff like that. So is it something that, should I start drinking? I don't. Should I consider starting to drink a little bit here and there?
Personally, I feel like the pros outweigh the cons when it comes to alcohol in starting to drink. There's other things that you can do. I know people have talked about like resveratrol, a supplement from wine, so that active antioxidant component that you can take. There's other ways of getting more fluids in, eating a better diet, all other kinds of things that you can do to help take care of some of these issues that we've talked about and avoid the risks when it comes to adding alcohol in. I think if you do already consume alcohol, number one, again, run it by your doctor. Run it by your doctor every time you get a new medication, a new diagnosis, any kind of change. Is it okay for me to still have some alcohol? And just get that run by. And I know it can be an uncomfortable conversation to have if you don't feel like they're going to support you, even if you said like I only have a drink every couple nights a week or something like that. But just, you really want to run it by them, because what could happen, and if they don't know that information, it's only going to hurt you in the long run, really. So make sure you run it by your doctor. And if you are already drinking alcohol, just how much you're drinking. If it's over that moderation amount, that is what is going to shoot up higher into those risk categories of developing cancers, having blood pressure issues, having blood sugar issues, that really you guys are already doing so much work. I mean, even jumping on here and watching James, you're clearly motivated and interested in doing everything you can for your kidneys. I would hate for you to bypass one of these really easy options when it comes to just kind of reevaluating and tweaking the alcohol that you might be having.
Yep. And your recommendation of, everyone out there, we should all, if we're changing, we're adding a supplement, we're making any changes, we should let our doctor know. My doctor is awesome. I can email them and say, hey, here's what I'm doing, just as an FYI. And then if the doctor sees any issues, he'll respond back, or he may say, hey, let's do a virtual call and talk about this. And I encourage everyone, when you are talking to your doctor, there's a lot of trust there. And in the beginning, I didn't share as much as I should have, which was only hurting me by not letting my doctors know all the symptoms or all the concerns that I had. Now, when I talk to my doctor, it's like talking to you guys. I'm open. I just tell them, hey, doc, here's what I'm worried about. Here's what's happening. Here's what I want to get to. What can we do? And we work together, which is how it's all meant to be. Everyone I work with, a renal dietitian, all my doctors, I'm very honest. I communicate a lot, and all that does is benefit me. So I encourage any of you that are holding back, or you're fibbing to your doctor. They know it. And my doctor, he can catch a fib before I even say it, just while I'm thinking about it. He'll say, how's your weight doing? And that slight little delay, he knows, don't lie to me. That's the next phrase that comes out. Don't lie to me. If you lie to me, you're only hurting yourself. So I'll let him know, hey, I'm not doing too good. I'm eating too much. I'm eating the right foods, but I'm eating too much and not exercising enough. So then we have a conversation. He helps motivate me, helps inspire me, which I hope to also be doing with all of you out there, so that you can make these changes and improve your overall quality of life. No one thing is going to help fix your kidney issues, but all these little things, especially working with a renal dietitian, all of these add up and can make a huge impact in your quality of life. So I know we're not going to run the full hour tonight because Jen, as she mentioned earlier, it's got a little bit of a back problem.
You guys, it's the worst. It's the worst. I was telling James earlier, because I'm totally fine sharing this information with you guys. I can't keep secrets. I can't keep my own secrets. My back has been killing me today. If you guys have any tips on helping with back pain, feel free to send them to me. Send me a DM on Instagram. Send me a message on Facebook.
Yep, up there, PlantPowered Kidneys.
I'm sure other people also, so you could just post it in the group publicly. Just like, Jen, I heard you're like pretty much dying today because like my hand is literally on my back right now because it's just, anyway. Yeah, so if you guys want to share back pain tips and how to help out with that. You guys know for kidneys, NSAIDs are not good medication, so that's not something that I do. So if you guys have any other tips, love to hear it. Glucosamine, Sean? Okay.
Yeah, Sean says glucosamine.
Yeah,
and
he took that.
I shared all my tips with Jen because we're coming up on 3 years ago that I was in a very bad car accident. And for a little over 2 years, my back was just awful. Now, as long as I don't lift or do much or stand too long and things like that, my back's okay. But I use an inversion table to flip upside down, which isn't something you can just throw in your bed B&B. And I have all sorts of roller things, and my doctors have given me so many exercises. So I shared all that. But if any of you guys have ideas for Jen, we lost her. I think her internet went out. If you have any ideas, go ahead, post those to our Facebook group. Here, let me bring this back so I'm full screen. There we go. We were worried her internet would go out because of where she's at. Oh, here she comes. Let me bring her back in here. Let me get her on. Boom, boom, boom. And there we go. I was just telling them we were expecting the internet to go out.
I knew it would. Oh man, I knew it would. Icing on the cake, guys. Icing on the cake.
Yeah, but we made it all the way here to the end. So I want to thank everyone for being here. If you haven't subscribed to Dadvice TV, go ahead and go to YouTube and subscribe. We are so close to 100,000 subscribers. We will hit that in about 2.5, 3 weeks. Though, if everyone watching just one video goes to subscribe, boom, we will hit it. Because about 76% of the views are not from subscribers. So I would love to have you guys subscribe. And when you subscribe, you also get a notification whenever we do other videos like this. So you'll be one of the first to find it. You don't have to wait and go search on YouTube. So hopefully that's a great incentive to subscribe. I want to thank you, Jen, for being here again and giving your time and helping us improve our quality of life and kick kidney disease to the curb.
It was so great to be back, James. Thanks for having me, and I'll see you next week.
All right. And I will see all of you in the next video. Bye, everyone.